Welcome to the Balanced Flux podcast. I'm Tenny McLeod, and these are my takes on cultivating mental health, enhancing personal productivity, thereby living a balanced life. I hope that you'll be inspired to expand the quality of your life and in turn, empower others along the way. Expect new episodes on Sundays at 1 p.m. UTC on major podcast apps and platforms. And remember that you can always get more information on the website at balancedflux.com. So join me now and every week on this inspiring and fulfilling journey through the Balanced Flux podcast. So, do you often feel as though you're wandering through a maze, blindfolded, and with no clue which way to turn? That's unconscious incompetence in a nutshell. It's the state of not knowing what you don't know, a blissful ignorance that can be both comforting and treacherous. In this state, you may be unaware of your limitations, oblivious to the skills you lack, and blissfully ignorant of the knowledge that could potentially transform your life. Think of it like driving a car without knowing the rules of the road. You might think you're doing just fine until you cause an accident or get pulled over. Or imagine trying to build a house without any knowledge of construction whatsoever. Chances are you might end up with a wonky structure that collapses at the first sign of trouble. Unconscious incompetence can manifest in every area of life, from relationships to careers to personal finances. To begin with, in relationships, both personal and professional, you might unknowingly push people away with your behavior, unaware of the subtle cues you're giving off. Perhaps you interrupt others constantly, dominate conversations, or fail to listen actively. These behaviors can severely erode trust and credibility, leaving you wondering why your relationships aren't thriving. At work, you might be passed over for promotions because you lack the essential skills you didn't even know existed. Perhaps you struggle with time management, conflict resolution, or communication. These deficiencies can hold you back from reaching your full potential and achieving your career goals. And in your finances, you might make poor investment decisions or accumulate debt without understanding the long-term consequences. You might overspend on frivolous items, neglect to save for retirement, or fall prey to those pesky get-rich-quick schemes. These financial missteps can lead to unnecessary worry, fretfulness, and even utter dilapidation. Unconscious incompetence takes on many forms. It could be the people who are convinced they're great cooks, but consistently serve up culinary disasters, oblivious to their lack of cooking skills and techniques. Or the individuals who believe they have a knack for relationships, but leave trails of broken hearts in their wake, unaware of their own emotional baggage and destructive patterns. It could even be the so-called professionals who are certain they are on the fast track to success, but consistently miss deadlines and alienate colleagues, blind to their own disorganization and poor interpersonal skills. The common thread here is a lack of self-awareness and a failure to recognize areas where growth is needed. Suffice it to say that this ignorance isn't always intentional. Sometimes you just simply don't know what you don't know, and that's how it is. You could have been raised in an environment where certain skills weren't valued or taught. Perhaps your family never talked about emotions, leaving you ill-equipped to handle your feelings or connect with others on an emotional level. You may have surrounded yourself with people who reinforce your existing beliefs, creating an echo chamber of confirmation bias. In addition, even your social circle may consist of people who share your personal views, leading you to believe that everyone thinks the same way you do, thereby preventing you from considering alternative perspectives. In another scenario, you might shy away from public speaking because you're terrified of being judged, even though developing this skill could open up new opportunities. Well, Truth be told, you may simply be afraid to face your shortcomings, preferring the comfort of ignorance to the discomfort of growth. Now, it's easy to see why unconscious incompetence can be a major roadblock to personal achievement and happiness. When you're unaware of your weakness, you're unlikely to address them. This can evidently lead to various forms of stagnation, frustration, and even self-sabotage. Consequently, this ignorance can somewhat manifest as denial, resistance to change, or an inability to recognize unhealthful patterns. You can feel stuck in an endless loop, unable to break free from self-destructive habits like procrastination or overeating. Consequently, you might end up blaming external circumstances for your problems, failing to see the role how your own actions play in your own undesired unhappiness. But, like all silver linings, here's the good news. Having unconscious incompetence isn't necessarily your fault, and it certainly doesn't need to be a life sentence. The first step towards overcoming it is simply awareness. Start by honestly evaluating your strengths and weaknesses. This is the internal input you get from yourself based on self-analysis and introspection. Next, genuinely seek constructive feedback from trusted friends, family, or mentors. This can help you see things from a different light. Finally, just be open to learning new things and challenging your own assumptions. The more receptive you become, the more you will grow. Bear in mind, the path out of ignorance may be paved with discomfort, but it also presents the potential for tremendous growth. You may have heard many times that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. However, the question is, will you take yours today? And that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Balanced Flux podcast. A new episode drops every Sunday at 1 p.m. UTC on major podcast apps and platforms. You can also listen to the podcast and extend your support through the website at balancedflux.com. This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. Kindly seek the appropriate care and treatment from licensed professionals. Do join the community on social channels and send your messages there or via email. Either way, if this podcast sparks some form of inspiration, I'd be more than glad to hear from you. Thank you for sharing your time and mind space. Your presence and engagement truly make this journey even more fulfilling and rewarding. I'm Tenny McLeod, signing off for now, and until the next time, stay safe, best wishes, and keep striving to achieve your balanced flux.